About a month ago, I covered the stealth horror game from Rockstar, Manhunt. Considerably one of the most violent games of all time, or maybe even the most violent game of all time. And today, I finally decided to look at its more violent and even more questionable sequel, Manhunt 2. Releasing on October of 2007, Manhunt 2 would release on the PlayStation 2, the PSP, and the Wii. It also later down the line came to PC in 2009, and each of the versions were developed by different developers. Rockstar London would develop the PC and PS2 versions of the game, Rockstar Leeds developed the PSP version, and Rockstar Toronto developed the Wii version. And just like the first Manhunt, this game was also controversial. The game kept getting rejected of a rating because of how brutal it was, even more so than the original, to a point where they just said, alright, fuck it, we gotta censor this game. And so they did, and it hurts my fucking eyes. Now, despite this, the PC version was still uncensored, and that is the version that I played for this video. There was so much controversy surrounding this game, just like the original, but the one that stands out the most to me is when attorney Jack Thompson sent a letter to the CEO of Wendy's telling them to drop a promotion they were doing that had toys made after Nintendo Wii games, because Manhunt 2 was on the same console. I can't make this up. Who else would do this? Be honest with me, only Jack would do this. And even went so far as to say, and this is the exact quote, Dave Thomas never would have tolerated the use of Wendy's good name to promote Nintendo's Wii. Not with this game available on the Wii platform. This dude was completely unhinged. Now, with this being a sequel to a game I love, was it any better than the original? Did it improve on the shortcomings of the original Manhunt? Did it just straight up ruin what was already there? Well, let's find out and get into Manhunt 2. The game opens up with us at the Dixmoor Asylum. The place gets hit by lightning, which sends the place offline, opening all the doors. So all the insane people are freed, and it turns into a bloodbath. We then see a guy with glasses strangle a woman, and then this guy shows up. These are our two main characters. The one with the glasses is Daniel Lamb. The other guy is Leo Casper. There is actually quite a bit of backstory within this game, and it is actually really important to the plot of the game. The Pikmin Project, also known as The Project, an organization who has committed, let's just say, atrocities. Founded by a man named Dr. Pikmin, they would get their government funding cut due to their methods, because, yeah, they had some pretty bad ones, which could lead to the project possibly shutting down. They had one last experiment, the Pikmin Bridge. Daniel Lamb would volunteer for this experiment. The Pikmin Bridge, basically taking a regular person and implanting a secondary personality into them, which could be triggered at will. In this case, Leo Casper was the selected personality for Lamb. Casper is an expert hitman and government operative, a contrast to Lamb. However, the bridge would malfunction, which caused both Lamb and Casper to interact with each other, which isn't supposed to happen. This all happened within the year of 2001. About 6 years later, we end up to where we are now, with Daniel going insane. For some reason, this one wiki I found said the first mission takes place in 2012. I have no idea where they got this information from. It doesn't really make sense at all. So back to the game, after the opening cutscene, it sent me to the main menu. The music here, while not as unsettling compared to the first game, I still like the track. After choosing your difficulty, you get a bit of a strange and gross tutorial. Since I am on the PC version, it had me move my mouse around in certain movements, and you hear screaming and other disgusting sounds. Yeah, glad that the horrifying sound design from the first game is still here. For some reason, the cutscene it played when I opened the game played again. I don't exactly know why, but we are now here in the first mission of the game, Awakening. This first mission is really just a tutorial mission. The first part of it is just teaching the stealth, then you get shown how to do the executions. But I've played the first Manhunt, so I'm a master of it. After doing your first execution, Danny throws up everywhere. At this point, I realized that for whatever reason, the HUD just did not appear in the recording at all. I don't know how this happened or why it was even possible. If you see any gameplay with a HUD, I'm just gonna link that gameplay in the description below because it's not mine. Because for some reason the HUD just doesn't want to appear. But yeah, there is nothing much different from the gameplay of Manhunt 2 from the original Manhunt. Weapons still go by the same color system. Green weapons break after one use, blue weapons are the middle ground weapons, and red are the most powerful and the noisiest. And executions work somewhat similarly too, with the 3 levels of execution. Except, no they don't. See, since the game was also on the Wii, it had motion controls. Because what other reason does it have to be on the Wii? And for some reason, the PC version also had these motion controls for executions. Pretty annoying, honestly. I ended up just turning them off after like 20 minutes because it just did not feel fun in my opinion. So without the motion controls, it just turns into regular Manhunt. Oh yeah, and a random little thing, they made the regular combat actually feel decent and not janky as fuck. You aren't at a complete disadvantage just by fighting one guy. It's still a bit janky, but it's not nearly as bad as the original game. In the asylum, there's a couple of groups of hunters in this area. The orderlies, there really isn't much that stands out to me personally. I mean, yeah, they are scumbags that clearly treat the patients like shit, but that's about it. You also have the inmates themselves, and I mean, they're insane. That's about it. And this group called the Legion, which is just the inmates. Nothing they do will make them better than the Smileys, though. I think this guy was broken. He kind of just acted like a mime, so I just beat him senselessly. I do like the little touches in the animation with Daniel physically recoiling from his actions. It's pretty cool. I've also noticed the performance issues. The frame rate dips are a common thing for me. However, it isn't really that bad because they normally only happen during the time I am not in action, which is weird because normally for a game to do that, it happens during the combat or something happening. But aside from that, the game ran fine. Later on, I got to watch a fist fight between an inmate and an orderly, and it was truly the boxing match of all time.
Call for the doctor, I dare!
After that, we gotta get into this elevator and get into a different floor. So, is it controversial to say the AI isn't very good? Being able to witness 2 opposing groups beat the shit out of each other is funny as hell, don't get me wrong. But for some reason, the AI will just straight up not work and just stand there and not attack me. Or they do some football training. As you make your way out of the asylum, you gotta kill 2 of these orderlies. For some reason, you need to pick up the bodies and hide them in the shadows because, yeah, no one is seeing those, totally not. You then make your escape in the back of a garbage truck. We then begin the second level, Ghost.
Danny, listen. It's a manhunt.
Our goal is to arrive at Daniel's old house to retrieve something, and you get introduced a new mechanic. While hiding in the shadows, hunters can go looking for you. You need to hold your breath by keeping your cursor in the circle. If it leaves the circle or touches the circle, hunters will pull you out of cover, and honestly, I think this is a great mechanic. Yeah, the AI is still pathetic, but this does give it a little bit of a challenge. The hunters that you encounter in this area are the watchdogs. These guys are somewhat interesting. Hired by the project to hunt down Danny and Leo, they are cool though. When you get to Daniel's old house, you gotta look through cabinets and closets and trunks to find what you are looking for. This also later becomes a feature where you can open up closets to find stuff from heals or weapons. Now I gotta talk about the executions. The ones in this game make the first game look like child's play. No, I am not kidding. They went all out in this game. You can get a weapon like pliers in this game. And in the PC version, I kid you not, the red execution has you ripping off a dude's nutsack. What the fuck were they cooking back there at Rockstar? Yeah, they have also aged. I mean, this game is like 16 years old after all. But they are still really brutal and just gross looking at. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that people were a bit disturbed by some of these. Or even traumatized a bit. Maybe that's a bit far considering it's just a game. But it's still gross nonetheless. And just like the original Manhunt, the sound design is good. So good, in fact, it's gross. After finding the stuff you need and killing all the watchdogs, you take the drugs needed to help with Daniel's amnesia. And that's really the end of the mission. We then begin the next level, Sexual Deviance, where we need to go to a strip club. Yippee. I hate my life. This area is in the red light district. The gang here are called the Pervs. They are, as the name suggests, pervs. And here I discovered there is new kinds of executions that are new to this game. Yes, environmental executions. You can use the environment to kill people, like a toilet. Or jumping executions where you can jump off something and just, yeah, kill people like that. Or later in the game, firearm executions where you use a gun. Later on, you need to get into a certain area that is blocked off by this dumbass. He will only let people in that he recognizes, so you gotta get another dude's head and show it to him, and he will let him in. I love how he just shakes the head to convince him even more. It's just so goofy. He had no reason to do that. We then find our way into a dungeon with pervs torturing people. So we do the world a favor and beat the shit out of them.
This isn't everything, you know? Sometimes I wonder what I'm...
If looks can kill, baby, I'm the fit.
Daniel then meets this scientist lady we are looking for, and she just tells us they are looking for us and we got a key for a safe house. And that's the end of the mission. We are on to the next mission, Red Light. We gotta go through more of the Red Light District. Here we run into a gang called the Red Kings. So the Red Kings, they are a street gang, kind of like the hoods from the first Manhunt, except I hate them. They are only here in just this mission and leave no impact at all. They are just so boring. Sometimes they will say something funny, but they really leave no impact at all. You go up to this TV and... yep, that was something. We then witness the police beating a guy to death, and now we gotta deal with the feds. Great. You find your way into a porn shop run by the pervs. Yeah, I wish I was making this up. This guy, though, seems friendly. He doesn't attack, and he just runs away. I don't know. Was he supposed to do that? Now, you know how the first game had Starkweather in your ear who would cheer you on? Kind of. Well, in this game, we got Leo Casper, and honestly, he's great. He kills it here, and it is sometimes even more motivating than Starkweather. As you run across the roof of a building, the watchdogs just start shooting at you, and then you just escape them instantly, and the mission ends there. We get our first flashback mission. How fun. They take place 6 years earlier before the current events of the game, so I'm going to assume 2001. Again, this one wiki claims it's 2006, so I don't know what the hell they were on. It opens with Danny threatening a guy named Michael to remove the Pickman Bridge, and then he just snaps out of it. But for some reason, he looks like Leo. I don't know if this is intentional, but it is really funny. He looks like Leo in all of the flashback missions. We then get introduced to the Project Militia, who is sent to kill Leo, Danny, and Michael. We play as Leo in this mission. Our goal is to hunt down Michael and get the boat keys from him. We can use this machine to distract enemies, and I got to see a dude practicing for football. In this level, we get introduced to firearms, and I know what I said about the first game, and honestly, they did it. They made the shooting feel not terrible. I wouldn't call it great, hell, not even good, but it is decent, at least compared to the first game. It does let you lock onto their head, which lets you one-shot, and I think this works with literally every gun. You then find Michael and chase him down as he shoots you with a flare gun, so your only option is to kill him, and then you gotta kill more of the militia as you make your way back to the boat, and then the mission ends. The next mission, Safe House, we get more past information from the safe house and then make our way out of there. The watchdogs are here to try and kill us, but as usual, they are no match for me, and for some reason they have shotguns. This mission is kind of ass. Listen guys, I said the shooting was better, that doesn't mean I want more of it. We then make our way into a movie theater, and I kid you not, they're legit playing porn on the big screen. What the fuck is this game? After getting through that though, the mission just ends. We find out Daniel had a wife and had kids, and then we start off the next mission, Bee's Honeypot. You go to this hotel thing looking for Judy. This mission is fine, not much to really know. You gotta go through the buildings killing people and find Judy, the scientist. You jump onto an elevator that Judy is on and go after her, and after meeting with her, she's backing away from you and saying not to trust Leo, and she gets shot and falls off the building to her death, and that's the end of the mission. We get our second flashback mission, Assassination. It turns out we assassinated someone, and we gotta make our escape. We got ourselves a sniper rifle and gotta kill the Project Militia again. I found these two guys that just act like I don't exist and they wouldn't attack me. Truly state-of-the-art AI. I do like this mission though, despite being a shooting gallery, just running around the rooftops in a city being hunted down by the militia. It's cool. After doing all that, we jump into the sewer and the mission ends. We are now on to the next mission, Most Wanted. Leo and Danny are on the run from the project's hired bounty hunters and another group of hunters, the Bloodhounds. What is special about the Bloodhounds? They're racist. Just like the Watchdogs, they are also hired by the project to hunt you down. Except they wear a specific hood that is disgusting. You then walk into a street and then get comedically surrounded by an army, and they just start spraying. You gotta make your way through Cottonmouth and then have to go underground into a sewer. After crawling through the sewer, you run into more watchdogs. I lit this one dude on fire and got immediately destroyed. You meet up with Leo and get on a train and the mission ends. We get our next flashback mission, Ritual Cleansing. Our goal is to destroy old records on Leo and Danny. You can steal gas from the civilian guy, but if he sees you, he's gonna want a fist fight. After neutralizing him, we make our way for the records. We then run into the stupidest cops I've ever seen. You need to get through a gate, but to do that, you gotta lure out the cops by burning paper. And getting through the gate, you run into more cops, but they weren't much of a threat. After burning Leo's files, the watchdogs make their way in, making it harder for you to get to Danny's files. Eventually getting to Danny's files and burning them, the mission ends there. We find ourselves back in current day in the game at the project laboratory, and find Pikmin.
Where is that idiot of a man?
That's him, that's Pikmin.
We gotta go get him and get through the watchdogs. You gotta kill all the watchdogs and get into a vent to get closer to Pikmin. We get to see them working on experiments on animals. We have these two scientists we need to kill and use their head to get into the next room. After going through more of the laboratory, you find out more about the testing that they did on Daniel.
Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose. You should kill yourself now and give somebody else a piece of that oxygen and ozone layer that's covered up so that we can breathe inside this blue trap bubble. Because what are you here for? To worship me? Kill yourself. I mean that with 100.
Pikmin somehow knocks you out by saying a phrase. Daniel wakes up with this moron with a shotgun, making sure you don't move because yes, give him a little bit of freedom, but don't strap him to a chair. After getting a weapon, you gotta make your way out of the room and destroy all the speakers so you can't get mind controlled. You then find Pikmin, use a tranquilizer gun on him. Leo then straps him to a chair, but Pikmin only sees Danny. He wants the Pikmin bridge removed, but Pikmin isn't budging. But as Pikmin says the phrase to stop him, Leo then stabs him. And then you find out more of what happened leading up to the procedure. And then the mission ends. We then move on to the next mission, Broadcast Interrupted. And personally, this is one of my favorite missions. Not because of the gameplay, god no, but because of the setting. We are at a project-owned studio, TVMK Studio, and I love how the place looks. You can play some level of stealth, however most of it is through brute force with guns. The Bloodhounds are here trying to hunt you, and oh my god, racist heavy. In this one game show area, if you kill anyone, you can hear a crowd applauding. It is quite odd and a somewhat funny detail. Hey, it's the White Rabbit from the first game. It's a nice little nod at the first game and is really the only connection to be made between these two games, unfortunately. But weirdly, you can hear kids screaming in the background in this area, and it makes me question what the hell happened here. After making your way through more of the studio, you end up on an old western set and have a shootout. It's somewhat fun. Then you make your way to a parking area where I discovered you can blow up cars. And then after that, the mission just kinda ends. We make our way outside the studio to begin the mission Altered State. We can get a crossbow in this mission, and it's actually pretty good. It is silent and a one-shot to the head. The level design here is also pretty good. Again, more of a western look, kinda like Red Dead Redemption looking area. But nothing much really happens. You just make your way through killing a bunch of bloodhounds. You then fight a mosh pit of bloodhounds, which is kind of fun but a bit irritating. After that, you go into the watchtower looking building and you open a door. You get ran up on by this woman who stabs you in the back with a needle, with Danny waking up in I don't know what this place is, and the mission ends. This woman named Dr. White talks to Danny, explaining what was supposed to happen with the Pikmin bridge experiment. And Leo might not be such a good guy after all, clearly. And so we figure out that we have to be the ones that can stop him. We then move on to the next mission, Domestic Disturbance, where we are placed in another flashback mission in a suburban neighborhood. There's cops all over the place and even a helicopter. You can even fight regular civilians for some reason. I don't even know why. You need to get some pliers to open up a gate and discover that they sent a SWAT team after you. So you need to make your escape and run from the SWAT and the police, but after climbing a fence, the helicopter just disappears out of thin air. After killing all of the SWAT and hopping a fence, you'll see what looks like a familiar house. You then get a cutscene of Daniel standing over his wife's dead body, with Pickman saying he will not remember anything. Pickman says to destroy the house, and Daniel on the inside is just going insane. Just like me, for real. White helps Daniel remember more of what happened and shows why Daniel should be against Leo. And it turns out Leo took over and killed Daniel's wife. We then get into the final mission of the game, Personality Clash. It seems we are inside the mind of Daniel. We are in some sort of graveyard looking place, and it is kind of unsettling. The atmosphere is a bit spooky, I won't lie. Leo is here, but he is kind of transparent, looks a bit like a ghost. Even though you can't see it, for me, Leo would not show up on the radar, but instead here would be a sound cue that got louder as he got closer. I don't know if this was how it was supposed to work, but if it is, then that is pretty cool. Later on, after killing Leo once, you end up in an area with ghost watchdogs that are supposedly the people that you killed. And then after that, you later have to kill ghosts of Pickman and Michael. However, I'm pretty sure this is just Leo trying to employ mind tricks with you. By the end of the mission, you have to carry Daniel's wife's body and bury it, while Leo keeps trying to stop you, but I keep one-shotting the dumbass. After burying her, Daniel then kills Leo for good, putting an end to his control. And then Daniel wakes up on the side of the road, except he no longer goes by the name Daniel, but now goes by the name David Joyner, with a new home and everything too, assuming the project is who set him up here. And that is the end of the game. There is also a bonus level in Manhunt 2. This mission is called Release Therapy. It is kind of a bad ending of the game. Daniel locks Leo up in a cell in the back of his mind. However, I guess he forgot that doing that really can't contain him. We play as Leo here. In this level, we fight nothing but legions from the first level of the game, but they have guns this time. It's an alright level for the most part, nothing special. At the end of it, we fight Daniel and basically shoot him repeatedly. And when we kill Daniel, we get the single greatest line in a video game ever. Daniel then wakes up and nope, that's not Daniel, it's actually Leo, and the game ends there. Supposedly to unlock this level, it requires 3 stars on every level, but on the PS2 and PSP version of the game, you just need to beat the game. However, I'm not so sure on how true it is, considering I do not own a PS2 or a PSP. So one of the things I liked the most about the original Manhunt was the soundtrack. And what do I think about the soundtrack? It's still really good. I wouldn't say it's better than the original, but some of the tracks I think are as good, or if not better, than some of the original tracks from the first game. My personal favorite is called In the Name of Science. It sounds like it came out of the original Manhunt, and it is just so good. Another really good one is called Sugar, at least in the second half of it. You also have music that plays when you are in the western set in the broadcast interrupted level, which is honestly just such a bop. Also, Love Thy Neighbor is an amazing one and probably my favorite as well out of both games. And honestly, I like the credits theme too for this game, way more than the original. So yeah, the music is still really good. To end off the video with some closing thoughts, what do I think about the game? I think it is good. I still think the original Manhunt is way better and more fun, however. But I am willing to acknowledge that they did improve upon things that the original Manhunt could have done better. Like the combat, it isn't as janky as the original game, and you can take on multiple targets without getting absolutely fucked. Yeah, it's not great, but it is good enough for what it is. They also did improve the shooting in this game too. I wouldn't call this good still, however the shooting segments, in my opinion at least, are not as bad, but I still prefer less of it. However, you'll notice the game is noticeably shorter than the original. Granted, yeah, the original Manhunt could have been trimmed down. I don't find any issues with Manhunt 2 being shorter than the original. It took me about 6 to 7 hours to beat, so only an hour or two shorter. And I think that is a good enough runtime. However, it doesn't seem to have much replay value. Yeah, you can 3-star every level that you didn't have already to get the release therapy level, but honestly, that is a pretty shit reward if I'm being honest. Also, the thing I liked about Manhunt was the style of the first game, like the VHS camcorder style it had. I liked that. Manhunt 2 doesn't really have that, and while it is fine, I still prefer the original over it. But again, I still think this is a pretty good game. Overall though, I think it is a good game. I still think Manhunt 1 was better, but hey, at least the game was a huge controversy just like the previous one. So yeah, that was Manhunt 2. If you played this game, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Dislike it? Love it? Hate it? Tell me. I'm sure I will read it eventually. Like the video please. I will give you a hug if you do. Subscribe please if you want to. It would make me happy. And if you enjoyed the video, good. Now goodbye.